So Danthika is in a competitive market with a lot of agents, 12 years in the business. You also have a family. You have a lovely family, am I right? So it's not just a realtor, it's also a mom.
Yes.
Okay. And a wife and a friend. And what I'm saying is you don't just live, breathe real estate 24 hours a day. You also have a life outside of the business and other responsibilities, true?
Yes, I try to. I try to balance it. It doesn't always work, but
not the easiest thing. I know. All right. Well, glad you're here with us. Glad you're sharing this stuff. I always appreciate you folks taking the time to share. Now, we met, what, about 2 years ago, right?
Yes, at the War Room.
So how was the first part of your real estate business? I know there were some challenges and it wasn't exactly, hey, I was a superstar. I sold 50 homes my first year in real estate. Give us a little bit of a background when you got started.
Oh my goodness. I think I was anything but a superstar. I got my license and I walked into real estate and I found that the market had crashed and I literally slid down with the market in 2008. So, and you know, at the time that I got my license, I had very young kids and I had told myself, you know, if I can sell a couple of houses and get some income, you know, finance my love of travel, it'll be good. And everyone at that time was making a lot of money. So I thought, why not me? And that was really not the case because I think our market was one of the worst hit. So I really struggled. I mean, I think my first year, I may have sold 3 houses total. And yeah. And even that was just, oh my goodness, just getting everything through. And it was quite discouraging actually. But, you know, I thought, okay, I'm just going to stick with it. And I just kept persevering and I started working with investors. But I will say that one of the things that I really didn't have at the time was systems. I didn't have a plan. I was kind of floundering. I was like, oh, you know, I sold a house. Nice. I didn't really think in terms of what's next. I didn't realize that there was a 60 to 90 day cycle. And, so, you know,
I was wondering, if things do get so tough and it's a tough going, it's slow going, have you considered, or did you at the time consider quitting? Why didn't you quit? What kept you, what helped you stay with it?
I think at the time, I just, you know, my mindset was, I just wanted to do a little bit so I can, you know, stay home with my kids, which I now realize was a big mistake because what I did at the time, I lost time. And especially when I've seen what my numbers have been in the last, you know, few years, when I changed that mindset and I actually had a plan. So it was really, I don't even know how I stuck through it. I just, you know, pushed through it and I kept trying to find, you know, mentors, coaches. And that was, I never really found something that I thought was a good fit that I didn't have to pay thousands of dollars for. And at the time I didn't have, you know, thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Now, disclaimer, Danthika is a graduate of my program. She was in my boot camp and she has my systems, but we're not here to pitch you on it. I mean, if you want to take a shortcut, by all means, get it. It will make your life easier. That's my job to accelerate your success, and that's what happened to you. But what I feel is like you always somehow believed that you're going to make it work, that it's going to work for you, that you're going to figure it out. Am I right?
Yes, I always had that belief that I was where I needed to be, but I just needed somebody to show me the way, just to kind of, you know, push me a little bit. And I think that's kind of where you came in. Because, you know,
how did you find me? How did you discover me?
Honestly, I think I was looking for expired listings, how to convert, because my broker said, go call expired listings. And I was like, what do I say? What do I do? Do I, you know, I was like, I'm not one of those people that are comfortable just getting on the phone and saying, hey, I'm sorry, your listing expired. So that's really how I found you, through expired listings. And then your story resonated with me.
Yeah.
You know, being
you started calling expired listings, discovered my system, and then you decided to come to a workshop. That was before we had to kind of go on quarantine, right? Yes. And we spent 2 days working together. What was your takeaway from the time we spent together?
I think my biggest takeaway was that I needed to change my mindset. and that I had to believe that anything was possible if you decided that this is what you were going to go for. And really, I realized that I was making a lot of excuses for why something couldn't done.
So in other words, you were not where you wanted to be, but you came up with justifications and explanations and reasons.
Yes.
To justify where you were. Now, when you say, because I talk a lot about mindset to you guys, we discuss it a lot. And it's very easy for me to say, you got to change your mindset, but how do you go about it? How do you go from thinking, well, it's hard, there's a lot of competition, and I don't have what it takes, I don't have the right skill, I don't have the right systems. How do you make that shift? What were some of the practical steps you took to move that mindset?
Well, one of the first things I did was I started doing mind matrix and I started meditating. I have a very, very strict morning routine where I literally, write down what my intentions are for the day and I follow them. And I think the biggest thing that I did that changed, there were two things really. The first thing was I got around a group of people who thought the same way I did and who believed that anything was possible. And I found that we were, if one person was having a bad day, the other person would lift that person up. And that was huge.
Where did you find them? Who was this group? How did that happen?
Well, I think I was doing one of your boot camps, and so it started off with somebody saying, I need a role play partner. And it just grew from there. And that somebody, of course, is Roxy. So we got a little group of 8 or 9 people.
Isn't it interesting that even a small group of 8 or 9 people can have such a huge impact, that you start hanging out with these people who are as hungry as you, who are ambitious, who want to get some good results. Suddenly the good results are starting showing up. It really is birds of feather flock together, and you are the sum of 5 people you interact with most outside of your family. So you started hanging out with these people. What else have you done, or what are you doing to keep that mindset focused?
So one of the biggest things I did was I stopped watching TV and I stopped listening to anything that was negative. Because I'm ashamed to admit it, but I'll say it. I was one of those people who were like, oh my gosh, the Real Housewives are coming on. And I thought, you know what, I'm wasting my time.
And there are Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? It's one of those, right?
Yes, right. So I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to listen to anything that is negative. I don't care if the market is crashing, but there is still real estate transactions going on. And then I realized that I am good with a certain type of client and how I work with them. And I thought, I actually took this analogy from my travel, because I love to travel. And when you travel, I like to travel nicely. And I thought every single client that I come into contact with is going to have a world-class experience. It will be everything from the time we meet till the time we sell their house, to, and everything in between. So I just planned it out in such a way that I said, I'm going to blow them out of the water with what I have to offer. We are not even going to get into a discussion about, what the commission is. I'm going to show what my value is, and it's going to start at the listing appointment.
Wow. Well, I want to get into all that, but I would love to have, you're giving us a lot of great gems, and I'm taking notes. I hope you guys are as well, because it's interesting how you hear it from so many successful people. Write your intentions, review your goals, don't watch television, hang out with successful people. I mean, all these are things that are not like, oh my God, I never heard that before. And yet most people don't do them. Why do you think that is? If it is the foundation of the success, and it does not require hundreds of dollars or anything more difficult other than find a like-minded people and do some simple things like review your goals in the morning, write the intentions, do a meditation. Why do you think more people don't do this? What's your opinion?
I think for me, and I'm speaking for myself, I would get distracted by the shiny objects. If somebody said, oh, look, you invest in this and this will come easy, I was like, okay, I'm going there. It'll be easy. But what I have realized is that nothing that is worth having is easy. But at the same time, if you put the work in and the time in, you can actually make all your dreams come true. And it doesn't matter what comes your way. Like this year, at the beginning of this year, I had 2 life events that just literally knocked me to my feet. And it came right around the time of the lockdown. And I could have chosen to have said, you know what, this is happening. My mother is dying. I can't go to see her in Sri Lanka. I'm just going to crawl in a ball and die. But I had a reason. I know what my why is. And
Tell me your why.
my why is my kids. And I want to show them that it doesn't matter what happens, you can be resilient. The world could be crashing, but you can still, push through it. And what's going to come on the other side is will be worth the, the journey that you took to get there.
How old are your kids?
I have a 19-year-old now, and I have a 17-year-old.
Is that right? Wow. Slightly older than my kids. Well, they have a great role model, I gotta say, because that's the best way to teach your kids is you show them. You can't tell them, but you can show them. That's amazing. Now, before I get into the mechanics and the technical part of your business, you had some pretty good successes recently. We are in the middle of lockdown. The market is crazy, to say the least. There are no listings. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of uncertainty and fear. And you didn't get that memo. You seem to be crushing it. Nobody told you that it's just supposed to be hard and struggle, and there's very little business out there. So brag a little. What happened recently? Do share with us.
I will tell you, when we had the lockdown happen, I told my kids and I told myself, it doesn't matter. We can only control what we can control. And we are going to push forward. We are going to do what we need to do. And so the first thing I did was not listen to the news. I just refused to do that because it was all doom and gloom. The next thing that I did, and this is actually something that my broker did, was we would have an 8 o'clock in the morning Zoom call where we talked about the market stats, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then he had all these speakers who would come and talk to us. And we did it for, I think, 75 days. So before I made my calls, before I did anything, I was in a positive frame of mind and I knew what was possible. The next thing that I did was, I'm just not a salesy person. And I just started making calls to my clients going, how can I help you? What do you need? We weren't talking real estate. And that's when I had one of my biggest marketing successes this year.
So what happened? Do share with us the actual successes. I'm anxious.
Okay, so one of the things that I noticed as I was streaming up and down Facebook is that I had a lot of friends who had kids who were graduating high school, and they were all talking about how they couldn't have the graduation party, how graduation was up in the air, and so I thought to myself, okay, what can I do to make these kids, some of who I know, have known from the time they were little, feel special? And I had a lady who I knew, it's a small business, so I was helping her out too, make me cookies of graduation caps and gowns, and she specialized it to the school colors. So I had I think about 20 or 30 kids that I knew. And we put together a goodie bag, and I dropped it off at their houses, and I said, it doesn't matter what is going on, this is still your special moment, and this will be something that you will remember. And I didn't do it with the intention of getting business. I just did it because I wanted these kids to feel special. And what happened was, I think I spent a total of $150 on that, all those cookies. But everybody was so, taken up with it that I ended up getting a call from a friend who was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I'm getting ready to list my house and I'd love to interview you. So I got that listing. And then it turned out that she was so happy with what we were able to do that she referred me to her neighbor 2 houses down. And so I got the neighbor's listing, and now he's referred me to a couple of, and it just kind of snowballed. And I found that, and it may not work for everybody, but it works for me because I like a more personal experience with my client. And so it just, it snowballed from there. I mean, that $150 investment made me a couple of thousand in, it snowballed.
That is fabulous. So what do you think you're going to close this year? How many transactions do you project this year?
Honestly, I think I will be pushing close to 40. I have a number in my head that and I haven't really, I don't really focus too much on the transaction. I just focus on what can I do to help this person achieve their goal, and how can I deliver a world-class, every once a week, at 8 o'clock on a Sunday, I'll just look back and look at my pipeline and look at where I am with my business. But I just pretty much say, you know what, let me do the best that I can for my clients. And it's amazing. It's like business just comes.
So you went from 3 deals a year to now 40 deals a year.
Yes, it'll be close to
Your
that.
average commission, I mean, you're going to make what, $250,000, somewhere there?
Yes, it's somewhere there.
That's not bad. I mean, that's pretty damn good. Consider that we are not exactly in a very easy conditions to do that. You must be pretty happy.
Yeah, but one thing I do is I don't ever get married to the idea of the income. I find that the money comes, but I just focus on what I need to do and allowing my clients to have the best experience. And it's just snowballs from there, I think, because when you have that intention of, helping someone and really.
So you have that right intention, you send the right vibes out, you're taking the diligent steps, control what you can control, do your best every day, and business comes.
Yeah, and it's the weirdest thing. But I mean, I don't ever want someone to say, okay, it's this, I write down, I want this many listings and it happens. I do work for it. I mean, I do the marketing, I do the calls, and, I'm like everybody else. I'm not that good at follow-up. That's something that I've had to, been forced to get better at. And you have to do the calls, you have to do your fundamentals. Like one of the biggest things I learned from your boot camp, really, when I took it years ago, was the importance of role play. And that was something that, I had never really done or anyone had really told me about. And I found that really, when you are prepared, it becomes easy. It's not forced. It becomes part of your life.
That is fantastic. So you feel more authentic, you feel more comfortable, more confident talking to people?
Yes, I do. And I can tell, when I go to a listing appointment now, or even when I talk to somebody on the phone, I can tell, whether or not I'm going to get that listing based on how our conversation is going. And
isn't that amazing? You develop this sense, this ability to determine very quickly. That's brilliant. I had a big problem with my accent for a very long time. You are so comfortable, so confident. Like, has that ever been a barrier for you, being a foreigner? You're probably not born in Atlanta, I would venture.
I was born in Sri Lanka. I think it was a barrier. Okay. I think it was a barrier in my head.
Oh, okay.
And, and I've always thought to myself, I've told myself, this is something I can't really change about myself. And I will probably, maybe my accent might put off some people, maybe the color of my skin might put off something people, but those are things I cannot control. But for every no that I get, I know I will get at least 2 other yeses. So even if a deal falls apart, I have learned to not focus on what could have happened and what, oh my gosh, I'm going to curl up in a ball. I'm like, okay, I accept it for what it is. I'm almost always learn something from it. And then I move on to the next. And that is another change that I've had with my mindset, because I find that, crying about something and saying, oh, how dare she go to another agent, you can't control that.
Yeah.
And I don't spend too much time worrying about things that I have absolutely no control over. I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned with my mindset.
Was it something that took time that you need to kind of work on and develop, or was it a fast process?
Yes, and and I would say that I was like this for the better part of my real estate career. I mean, up until maybe even about 3 years ago, when I really started reading about, mindset and how being positive. I think I'm one of these people that is a reformed realist who was actually borderline negative.
And what's amazing, and I have this sense from you, Danthika, is that not only do you enjoy the success and helping people, but you enjoy the business. Like, you enjoy what to do.
I really do. And even
now, do you think it's because you're making money and you're getting clients, or you're getting money and you're making money and getting clients because you enjoy what you do?
I think it's a little bit of both. And like I said, once I separated the money part of it, I wasn't so married to the outcome. The money, and the money is important. Trust me, it's important to me.
Sure.
Anyway, I
Well, I
have
mean, you
a
need
job.
to feed your family and pay the
I
bills
do,
and
and I have
enjoy the
college
life. You
to
want to
pay for.
travel, right?
Yeah,
And
I have
remember, we
college.
talked about it in the boot camp. That's one of the things I tell you guys is I love to fly first class. And it's not because I try to be a snob about it, but because I like the service. And you mentioned earlier that you like to provide that first class service to your clients. It's the same concept. There are people out there like me who will gladly pay 4, 5, 10 times more, but get treated differently, have more space. And I don't mean just physically, I mean figuratively speaking. And you do the same with your clients, am I right?
Yes, I absolutely do. And in fact, on that one deal that you had referred to, the $1.6 million one that I had double-ended on with an unrepresented buyer, one thing at the closing table, one of the things that they told me was, this is world-class service that you delivered to us. And
But here's the thing, what does that really mean? Like, what do you think people notice and appreciate really? It's not the glitzy stuff. We do drone videos and we do 3D photography. I think it's simple, but also more profound what you provide and what they feel like is a first class service. What's your opinion?
I really believe that. I think that technology is a wonderful tool and it helps to make things happen. But I think one of the things that we have lost in this day of technology is that the human connection. And that's what I'm really good at. Yes, I can do all of these things. And yes, I can send an email or whatever it is. But I actually pick up the phone and I talk to them. And I want to know what their fears are and what it is that, that they need to happen. So
you guys, if you're not writing this down, this is one of the most profound gems you can discover, or Danthika can share with you, is as you're doing your prospecting, your follow-up, discover their fears, find out what worries them, find out their concerns. That will make you a powerful communicator and a very successful rock star, clearly.
And I think also if you can find something that you can have in common that is not real estate oriented, like, maybe I'll find out that they have a 17-year-old senior and we talk about college or whatever it is. So you're actually establishing some sort of, connection, a human connection, which I think is sometimes, missing with, next. And because real estate, it should be a financial transaction, but it's actually a very emotional transaction. And I think that if you recognize that, and if you can solve some of those problems, then I think it really helps to, push the transaction forward and actually to make a client for life.
So let's say I'm an agent who's doing 5, 6 transactions a year, making $50,000, $60,000, $80,000. Who's now watching this? We're talking to Danthika Borst, who is a rock star in Atlanta, Georgia, has been in the business for about 12 years. Slow beginnings, but now is crushing it, doing 40 transactions. So she's on track to do 40 transactions, making over 200,000 a year, which is something that you guys can do. As we're uncovering and peeling off the onion, you notice that in its core, there are skills and tools and determination and mindset that every single one of you can develop. So let's talk about where your business is coming from now. We talked a lot about the mindset, and that is a foundation that really is the engine that drives your success. And I am the idiot that was fighting it for a very long time and thinking that's just a new age, airy-fairy, positive thinking. But it is the core of what helped you see where you need to go to reach the success that you want. So let's talk about the mechanics. You mentioned that some of your business comes as a result of referrals and work in your sphere. What else do you do to generate buyers and sellers? Well, first, let me ask you this. How much of your business this year, out of the 40 deals that you project to close by December, will be buyers and how many will be sellers? What's your best estimate?
A lot of my business was buyers, but now it's moving more towards listings because I've realized that listings are, and again, that was another mental fear that I had about, listings. But it's right now, it's about 50-50. I would say I get about almost 90% of my business is from referrals. However, just the past few months, I've got a lot of new business and new clients from open houses.
Can you do open houses right now in Atlanta?
Yes, we can. We were one of those few states that were able to do it. They're not as as if you have a good listing, yes, you will get some of those. And I also do some Facebook marketing, although that is the long game. I mean, you are spending a lot of money and you have to really touch them over a long period of time. But the best part of my business is through like client events. I did a pie every November before Thanksgiving. I order pies from a local, farm, and I literally hand deliver them, drive to my clients' houses. It takes a lot of time. Because it's grown to be about like 150 pies. But what I find is that even just the physical act of going to somebody's house and handing them a pie allows you to have a conversation and touch base with them at least once a year. And I think that is important. I also use Facebook to organize my friends and clients into lists, so I can see what's important in their lives. So if somebody's having a birthday, we have a plan for that. If somebody got a promotion, if somebody had a baby, we try to, acknowledge that by, just a little simple gift or just something that, makes somebody feel special.
Yeah, brilliant. I have few specific business questions. Do you do any prospecting right now?
I do.
What do you do?
I call FSBOs and I do expireds. We don't have a lot of expireds, but FSBOs have always been my strong suit. So
where do you find them? Where do you reach them?
Actually through RedX, LandVoice. And if you don't want to spend that money, I mean, you can go to Zillow and type in, make me move or something like that, and you'll get a bunch of those. So I don't really spend a lot of money. I actually split the cost with a friend of mine. So, because I've fallen into that trap of the shiny object. But I've realized that, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You just have to be persistent and, do it diligently over a period of time, and you will get your results.
Perfect. How do you follow up with your leads? Do you have a contact management system? What do you use? I
do, because that was one of my biggest, I know we talked a lot about that, right? Because that was my big failing, because I kind of get, so caught up sometimes in, being the best for the clients that I have that I forget what's in my pipeline. So I do have a CRM. I could say that I'm maybe 60% better at using it than I was. Okay. But again, I try to call people up, and, I have my CRM allows me to track how they're searching. So we can call, and again, so I do follow up. I'm getting better at it, but that is, follow up is really where the money is.
Yeah. How many hours per day do you work?
I should get better at it, but I get up very early in the morning. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. It's not for everybody, but it works for me. Because I find that that's a very quiet time. Everybody else in my house is, sleeping. I try to work out, and then I come and I start writing. So by 11 o'clock, I've made my calls. I have a little checklist. I tell myself, if I can, make 10 calls or speak to 10 people, I'll consider that day a win.
That's fantastic. And these are 10 people who can be your sphere or existing leads or new prospects or a combination of those?
A combination of everything. People in my pipeline. I like to, go back through my CRM allows me to see when we close. So I just, yesterday I had 4 closings from last year. So I call them up and I'm like, hey, it's been 1 year, how are things going? Because I find that the likelihood of people actually selling their house within like the 3 to 5 year mark is pretty high. And I'm finding that a lot of people who I had sold houses to as, their starter houses now are selling those houses and, buying bigger, moving up to a bigger house. So staying on top of mind with those people is pretty important to me. Anyway.
Do you go to the office or you work out of your home?
I work out of my home, but I have a dedicated office space, and I have older children, so it's I don't I can literally say, don't come in, mom's on the phone, because there
Yeah.
was a time when we were all in the same house and we all had to have our own dedicated, school space or office space. So I am getting better at, not getting distracted. I think one of the things that I've probably gotten a little better at is controlling that monkey mind. It's still not, it's
Yes.
still there, but
It's getting better, huh?
it's getting better.
Do you have an assistant?
Um, I went through a bunch of assistants,
Oh,
but I do have someone who helps me, but I think I have found someone who's pretty perfect for me right now. I also have a transaction coordinator, but for the most part, it's me. I mean, I don't really outsource the follow-up or any, I don't have an ISA. I used to, but that didn't really work out because I find that, there's a difference between having someone read a script and truly being able to connect with somebody. So I find that when I get on the phone, my chances of converting are pretty high.
Got it. Do you have a transaction coordinator?
I do.
You do. Perfect. How many days off do you take on an average week?
Not as many as I should.
I'm
working
Do you
on
work
that.
like 6 days a week or 5 days a week?
Yeah, sometimes 7. I think
Sometimes 7. Wow.
Yeah, but that is because I think I'm working on this because I have control issues.
Yeah.
So I am getting better at it. I'm hoping to take a vacation without my computer. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, but I enjoy the work. It doesn't feel like work to me, and I've always been like this. So,
what's the one thing that you want to work on that you feel like is going to take you to the next level? What do you want to improve?
Think bigger and execute.
Ooh, tell me more about that. What does that mean, think bigger?
I think
like set more ambitious goals?
Yes, I think so, because I think for a very long time I think you always talk about excuses and reasons. I would make all these excuses like, oh, my children are young and I won't be able to go to a ball game, and I can't do this because I have to do that. And that was just all bullshit. I could have done all of those things, I realize now, without being less of a mother or without being less of a wife. So I think that when I started to write down my goals and start looking at the big picture and then start attacking it in small chunks, what felt was impossible became more probable. And I think that when you start that momentum of achieving what you thought was impossible and it becomes more probable, then you start to dream bigger. Because you know that you can get there. And if you are not distracted by outside things, people going, oh, but Zillow is going to take the market over, or, oh, I was going to do this. And I might be very Pollyanna-ish about how I think this, but I truly believe that it doesn't matter what Zillow does or whether the market falls or who the president is. I mean, I'm just like, I'll still do me, and I'm absolutely certain that I will be okay.
Yeah. And there's no doubt in my mind either. That you're going to be not just okay, you're going to thrive. There's no question. So you guys watching this, agent who's watching this, who is stuck at $50,000, $80,000 a year, what would be the 3 practical tips, 3 things that you would suggest they do to reach your level of success?
Well, I mean, let me just preface that by saying that I was that agent making 50,000, 80,000, and I thought it was great. But I think the 3 things the biggest impact for me was a shift in my mindset. And that was what worked for me. And then I started creating systems. I literally have systems of what to do from the moment I go on if the moment I set an appointment, it's step by step by step by step by step. Everything from when the pre-listing package is going to be delivered to the thank you note that comes after the pre-listing appointment. Even when a listing goes in, if a listing stays on the market, I have a system for everything. And that's just me. because I find that I function better. So that was one of the things that I was lacking. And I had to automate some of it, but that helped me.
Mhm.
And then I think an unshakable, wavering belief that you can do this. And I think that I am probably the best example of that. I mean, I'm not going to get into the personal here, but I found out that my mother was dying of cancer literally at, in addition to the other thing, right around the time that COVID happened and Sri Lanka shut down their borders. I couldn't go to Sri Lanka. I was desperately wanting to go, but
Mhm.
I couldn't go. And I just thought, what do I do? You find ways to still connect with people. Like in my case, thankfully, there was WhatsApp. So I was still able, it wasn't being there physically, but it was the next best thing. And I think
Yeah.
that's how I've decided to approach things with my real estate career too. It doesn't matter what happens. You will
Yeah.
find a way to do
And
what.
what I hear you say is that it is not as much about what would be the best thing as it is what's the best I can do under the circumstances,
That,
whether
and I
it's your
think,
personal life or business. Like, yeah,
and
ideally you would jump on a plane and go and fly see your mom, but if that's not possible, what's the best I can do under the circumstances? And it seems like you approach parenting and your life and your business from this perspective. Like, if this is the best I can do right now, then that's what I'm going to do. But I also feel like you don't let yourself down. You do your best. Like, you are a disciplined, focused rock star. True?
I'm getting better at the discipline part of it. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm more aware of when I'm not disciplined.
But it is not something that people are born with. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not something you simply get and then it stays. It's like a muscle. It's like working out, like you exercising. You have to work on it, and it's an ongoing process. It just becomes a habit. True?
I think, yeah, true. And I think what it really means is you do the small things every day consistently, and
Mm-hmm.
they add up to something very big. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my $1.6 million listing, that actually came from my clients who I first sold the house to 10 years ago, but I've kept in touch with them. I've every year we did, and it just and fine, they did interview other agents, but they were like, we're going to go with you.
Why
And
did they go with you?
I think they liked my marketing plan,
Mm-hmm.
a sense of loyalty also, because we kept in touch. But I think the most beautiful thing is that when you work with people who value what you do, uh, it, it's actually quite a blessing, because one of the nicest things that they ever did was they recognized all the work that I put before the listing. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
helping them get their house ready. And the day that we closed, she sent out an email to her entire subdivision, uh, talking about what a great job I did. And, if anyone was looking for a real estate agent, they highly
Wow.
recommended me. And she also sent me 3 prospects who were in that
Wow.
subdivision who were thinking of selling. So I think that, that those are the kinds of things that you work for, and you hope
Yeah.
that, by providing, a great experience for that
And that is
customer.
that sense of satisfaction. It's more than just a nice commission. I'm sure that was a nice, big, juicy commission. But it is that sense that somebody recognized the effort you put in, the skill you delivered, the integrity with which you did it, and they appreciated and expressed their appreciation in such a beautiful public way. That must be very rewarding, very satisfying.
Very. And I think what I've also learned over the past few years is that I cannot be all things to all people.
Mm-hmm.
There are a certain type of client that works best with me.
Mm.
And
But it
I
also goes back to that mindset of knowing there's plenty of business, there are plenty of clients, there's plenty of money to be made. I don't have to be everything to everybody, and I don't have to be desperate or chasing the business. That it's out there for me to get.
give 2 words that I always try to think of is grace and ease. That
Mm.
things will come with grace and ease if you just do what you have to do. And
Yeah.
I'm always reminded by what my father told me, who was a businessman. And he said, focus on doing the right thing and the money will come.
Focus on doing the right thing, and the money will come. Well, you're clearly doing the right things because the money is coming. So
Yeah. And
Very valuable.
sometimes, doing the right thing is watching out for your client. Like, I like to provide what I think is good advice and sound finance. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor, but uh, I don't really know how to explain it, but you always, I think that when you stop thinking about the money and you start thinking about how you can best serve your client, the money just comes.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of nice comments I wanted to share with you, Danthika. Good vibes, Matt says. Juan Carlos says, wants me to run for president, which I'm happy to do. Sean Chanta, this is very inspiring. Thank you. Abby loves it. Saying hello to everybody. And Joel says, good, do our best. Everything to everybody reminds me the need for the boundaries. Good stuff. People are really enjoying it. You're sharing some really wonderful
And let me
gems.
just tell you,
Please.
One of the things that I have found that started me on this journey was really when I joined Rockstars, and I started being inspired by some of the things that other people were doing that showed me what I could do with my business. So thank you for facilitating that.
And now you're the one inspiring others to follow in your footsteps. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that brilliant?
Well, thank you, because I feel inspired every day, when I read some of these things that these rocks, some of the questions that they ask, some of the answers that people are so readily sharing. And I think that's really a wonderful thing, that you can be in a collaborative space where everybody can grow.
And that was always my vision for my YouTube channel, for the Rockstars group, for my Path students, for creating groups like you mentioned, the boot camp and the graduates who hang out. We had a group hang out for over 2 years afterwards virtually, and they would support each other and mastermind and all that. That was always my intention, is to bring more than just the technical know-how, which we do, the tools and the resources and scripts and everything else, but more than that is the sense of community where we really are here to help each other, because there's plenty of clients, business, plenty of opportunities, and the tide really rises all the boats. And you are a clear example that that's happening. Anything else before we close? Anything else we should have discussed, but we didn't?
One more thing, and I think this is also kind of life-changing. One of the things that I carried away from the war room, which I actually have framed up, is one of the things that you said, that you have to take emotion out of something and act on the data.
Yeah,
and
take
I have
the emotion out there. And you're left with math.
That was, because as you know, Borino, you found out in the war room just how emotional I can be. And you were like, no, what is the fact? Come back down to earth. And I liked it so much that I have it framed, and it's a reminder that anytime I start, veering on that path about, what do I do with this appraisal that came in low or this time? I'm like, let's just deal with the facts. Let's take the emotion out and just deal with the facts. And that has been, something that has changed for me in a very positive way in all aspects of my life.
That is so good. Thank you. Thanks for that. Appreciate it very much. All right, you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Please join me thanking Danthika for all this good stuff. If you have any more questions or you get stuck, here's a clear example that in spite of the personal trials and tribulations we go through, business obstacles and coronavirus situation and all this stuff that we deal with on a daily basis, you can succeed, you can enjoy the business, make the money, serve the clients, feel good about yourself, and enjoy life. And that's really the mission that I set out to do, is that take our small little community, make your life a little better, inspire you, guide you, and share with you. And in a way, you come back and I hear stories like yours, Danthika, where I feel that my work has not been in vain, that there is a small group of you rock stars who are doing exactly how I envisioned you would be doing, enjoying the life and doing good and turning this industry into a little more reputable area than, we real estate agents usually don't have the best reputation. So I appreciate the level of integrity you bring to the business. And your clients clearly expressing it. It's just fantastic to hear. Thanks for all the wisdom. Thanks for being such a shining light. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for taking the time.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share my story, Borino. I know.
All right, you guys. That's Danthika Bohr from Atlanta, Georgia, showing you that yes, you can and will be a rock star following not very complicated steps. I mean, this is not an easy business, clearly, but the success anywhere where you can make good money and make a difference in somebody's life is never going to be easy. That's just how the life is set up. And the reward of the accomplishment is sometimes way more important than the money. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. My name is Borino. If you're still thinking about joining my boot camp, we're starting next Wednesday, so you're cutting it really close. Jump on it. GoBorino.com/bootcamp is the URL. Go check it out. We'd love to teach you and make you the next rock star. And who knows? Maybe in a few months, you and I will be chatting and sharing your success story, just like we did with Danthika. Danthika, thank you so much. You guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Have a fantastic rest of the day. I'll see you in the boot camp. My name is Borino. Let's go get him. Ciao.